Okay, start with your names.
I'm Jessica.
I'm Ellen.
Alright, okay. Usually when you go shopping, what shops do you tend to go into?
The cheap ones.
Yeah.
If I'm down here, I go to Rocket because
Okay.
it's like really good value. But if I'm in like Milton Keynes or whatever, which is my like local one, then I'll always go to like New Look, H&M. It's just like
I'm
cheap.
Jessica.
Okay, are you aware that most high streets use cheap labour shopping? What
Yeah.
shops? Yeah.
H&M does, I knew that.
Yeah.
Pretty
Cheap
much.
ones.
Yeah.
If I'm down here, I go to Rocket because it's like really good value.
So,
But if I'm in
even
like
though you
Milton
know
Keynes or
that,
whatever, which
does
is
that
my
not affect the
local
way
one,
you buy
then I'll
stuff?
always go to
or
like New Look.
does it come to the
H&M.
back of your mind?
It's always at like the back of my mind.
Are you aware
so-
that most high
but
streets use cheap
if I
labour?
if I had the money, I wouldn't go there. But like I don't really have the money to shop at.
Also, if
Other
you
places.
could afford to buy something that was the same but just slightly more expensive, and it was ethically made, you would do that. So it's just a matter of money. Or like
Yeah,
money.
it's always at like the back of my mind. So, but if I had
I
the money,
do
I would.
economics,
go,
and
but,
I know
like,
that the
don't
reason,
really
like,
have the money to shop at.
cheap labour is bad and all, but the thing is people work there because there is like, but there's what they could do instead of working there is a worse alternative. Yeah, so it's not
made,
like
you would do that. So it's just
I don't know how to put it.
matter of money.
But
I think I know what you mean.
economics. Yeah, I know that the research I agree are disgusting. Cheap labour is bad because they take advantage, obviously, of the really poor like workers' rights. What they could do instead of working there is, but at the same time, people do have the choice as to whether they want to work in such a poor condition or not. And the reason they choose to work there is because it is better than what's generally acceptable in their country.
Okay, so you yourself, would you work for?
Disgusting. If there was no other alternative, then yeah. If I was like desperate for food, then you know I'd probably do quite a lot of things that I wouldn't do right now. You know, I get quite hungry, so it's pretty bad. The reason they choose to work there is because it is better than what's generally acceptable.
You yourself,
Would I work in one if there was like the kind of alternatives I have are not great?
If
So
I
yeah,
wanted to
I don't
be a
know.
prostitute, let's be honest. I don't think I make very much money as one. Are we allowed to say that? I'm
okay, I've got enough. No, thank you very much.
Would I work in one if there was like the kind of alternatives I have are not great? So
I'd
yeah,
rather do that
I
than
don't
be a
know.
prostitute, let's be honest. I don't think I make very much money as one. Are we allowed to say that? I'm sorry, is it a PG interview?
Okay, I think we've got enough. No, thank you very much for answering our questions. Have you bought anything today at all?
No, we haven't.
Okay, what shops do you usually shop in on the high street?
Selfridge, Primark, H&M, Topshop.
Alright, okay, well Primark for example got into trouble, obviously. So you know that they use cheap labour then. And how do you feel about that? Are you bothered by it? Does that change your choice at all?
I am and I'm not to a certain degree. It's hard because we're both students. You kind of got to make that toss up of, and we're dance students as well, so we always need that practical gear that's really cheap and throw away. So for us, things like a pound vest top, it's just necessity.
Good. And also, this is awful, but after that documentary, I didn't watch it, but I noticed they started putting posters up about ethical stuff, and I didn't read it, but it kind of made me feel a bit better.
And what they covered in the documentary was that ethically it's all about, they were using cheap labour or child labour to put on things like sequins, and so I don't buy things with sequins. Is that... I know, but I wouldn't buy them anyway because it's not the kind of thing I would buy.
But if you were put in their shoes, would you work for slave wages then? Because if you look at it from that point of view, it's not bothering you
As a
at all.
choice, no. But I'm quite opinionated on this. I won't go into it, but
I suppose as well the problem is like it seems so distant, you know what I mean? Like it all happens so far
it's
away.
back of your
It's
mind
almost
sort of
like
thing.
it's almost like you
So
kind
if
of
they
don't think about
did
it.
like advertise and tell you exactly the cheap labour sort of thing, if it was in front of you, would that change your mind, or would you just like
I think
walk
it would,
by and then
actually.
just continue kind of?
No, I think it would because it does feel very much like, you know, and you're on a high street and you just go and shop after shop after shop and you don't think about it. But I think if it was more in your face, then I probably would actually stop it.
and the shop experience as well, like you say, you're going from one shop to the other and you're just immersed in what you're doing. You're not necessarily thinking about where this has come from, what it means.
You just pick it up and...
Yeah.
All right, okay. Thank you very much for participating today. Yeah. Which shops have you visited?
Top shop and Beyond Retro.
Beyond Retro. Okay, those are two quite different. Do you realise that Topshop uses cheap labour at all? Are you aware of that?
Yeah, kind of.
And does that not bother you, or is it in your mind when you go shopping, or?
I know of it. I shop mostly at vintage stores.
That's quite good. It's ethical and that kind of.
But I get like a couple of pieces from Topshop.
So, knowing that, would that change your view of shopping in there, or is it just necessity really that you go in there and you don't really think about the ethical part of it?
I wouldn't shop at somewhere like Primark or like I don't know a shop like that because I know about that. But or like real like high street.
Because most of them do actually use it. Zara's the same. Topshop uses cheap labour as well. Same as Primark. It's just that because of the reputation, people don't seem to think that. So now that you do know that, I was just asking you the question, would that change your shopping experience at all? Or is it more about getting what you need and that just comes kind of last?
If I'm getting like stuff that I need, I don't think about it so much. But if it's like a choice between getting a dress from Topshop or a dress from like Camden Market, then I go to Camden.
So would you pay extra to shop at an ethical shop if it was kind of similar thing you wanted in Topshop, or would you just go for Topshop?
Yeah, I would pay more. Like usually, if it's more expensive, then you know that it's like better for the workers. But then obviously, if Topshop's quite expensive, so maybe it's not so true there.
Okay. Would you yourself work for slave wages?
No, I wouldn't.
No. Okay. Well, I think that's all we needed, right?
What about should we ask this?
Do you want to answer the same question? What do you think about ethical fashion? Did you know that Topshop used?
Yeah, I knew that, but some people in like countries like India and Bangladesh don't even have a job. So, I mean, at least they have something, even though they do get paid so little. It's like, I don't know, at least it's something. And if you stop buying from there, then the pay is just going to go down because something's going to be made cheaper. So it's going to be worse for them in the long run if you don't.
All right. Okay. Do you think you yourself would work for slave wages?
No, not really. Because I've been to places where they make it. Because I was recently in Bangladesh, and I went to a factory where they made it, and it's just not very nice.
Thank you. That's all we need. Would you be able to give us your email, Carolyn? Well, I've seen that you've been shopping in Topshop. Do you mind if you explain to us what you've just bought?
Okay, well this is kind of strange because I don't think you're probably likely to stop anyone else and have the same conversation today because I'm actually going to do a job, which is because what I do is I direct TV commercials and music videos. So I'm actually going to the Ukraine tomorrow to film a commercial, and there were certain characters that we had to try to find outfits for. And so literally I went into Topshop and just looked at anything that was in the right colour palette, basically.
Okay.
So you want to see you want to see all the items, or you just want to? Do you want to just? Okay. So, well, to be honest, I have to say I didn't. I don't know about this. That looks like, oh no, it's a one-shouldered. That's it. That's how it works. It's like a dress with one-shouldered thing. Should we see where it was made? Which I didn't even. I have to say, I didn't even look at it because made in the UK. There you go.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. Well, because I don't know if you know, but Topshop actually used cheap labour. So, did you know that before you went into the shop, or?
I didn't know, but it wouldn't have surprised me, to be honest. I mean, you know, I kind of feel most of the high street chains, the cheaper high street chains, probably do that.
So did that not bother you? Is it back of your mind,
I think it bothers me. It's sort of a catch-22 thing. It bothers me, but normally if I'm going, like in this instance, I've got to sort of fulfil the needs of the job more than thinking about where it came from. So effectively, I've ended up with bits. The stylist came over from the Ukraine, and I've gone shopping with him and looked for stuff. And literally, so all we did was look for the right colours and anything that had the right sort of texture that we might be able to at least utilise. And to be honest, also, I have to say, 90% of that will probably end up going back because we probably won't use it.
All right, okay.
Or we'll copy it and make it ourselves and we'll paint it in the right colour, etc.
Okay.
So yeah, it does bother me, but I kind of think, I guess it is at the back of your mind in that even when I am buying stuff for myself, I'll tend to look and think I like it first, and then I'll probably think about any of the other things second. I mean, personally, I just think that's part of the problem with a free market economy, that in a way this competition drives the price down, which means that then people getting stuff made have to try and find ever cheaper ways of making it to fulfil consumer demand, whereas actually if there was I personally think there should be some sort of legislation that stops people doing it.
All right. So if you were to know that our shop used cheap labour, would that affect the way you shop, or would you not really care? So if you knew specifically if a shop was doing cheap labour, you wouldn't buy anything from there at all?
No.
Okay. Well, what about shops like Primark? Have you ever shopped at Primark at all?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, you do know that they do use cheap labour.
Really?
Well, yeah, there was a big, huge documentary about them using cheap labour, using children to sew on sequins on tops. They say they've like rectified that, but I think it's still exactly the same. That's why I think it's so cheap, because they do use cheap labour. So now that you know that, would you still shop in Primark?
It will make a bit of a difference, though, definitely. I'd still go there, but not. I don't know. I mostly buy like stupid stuff though, like cosmetic stuff and stuff like that, like
So
tights
like
and
shirts and stuff,
not really now.
not t-shirts and
No.
stuff. Would you yourself work for slave wages then?
No.
No. Okay. Okay. That's all we need, I think. Would you be able to leave your email address so we can send you a link? Anna. Okay. Can you tell me, have you been shopping today?
Yeah.
Where did you go?
We've just been
Anna. Okay. Can you tell me, have you been shopping today?
Yeah.
Where did you go?
We've just been
Selfridges. Okay. Do you shop in like Topshop or?
Yeah, we're heading there.
Alright, okay. So what would you say about cheap labour? Because most high street shops do use cheap labour. Does that bother you at all?
Yeah, it does, but it doesn't to an extent where I don't buy it. Like, it does, but not so much.
Yeah, I don't think it's right. I think people should be paid more, but I kind of think, in a way, it's kind of good that they do have people there, because otherwise they might not have jobs.
So when you go shopping,
The industry does
way.
provide jobs, but they probably don't pay them enough.
Yeah, okay. So when you go shopping, is it at the back of your mind, or do you just?
Yeah,
do you not really?
I don't really think of it. It depends how you do it, because I didn't really think they did it in places like Topshop. I thought they did it in more places where they sell clothes cheaply, like Primark and stuff.
Alright,
I
okay.
didn't think they did it at Topshop or anywhere like that.
Do you shop in Primark? No.
Oh, I did an interview.
She can join us as well. It's for we're doing some work towards cheap labour. We're sort of making a small film about cheap labour within the fashion industry.
Right.
And we're just interviewing like people that are interested in being part of this. So we can send you some more information later on about what we're doing.
You're not having to give out your number or anything?
No.
How long is it?
Yeah,
Just like finishing.
Okay. All right then.
Sorry about that. That's okay. You were saying?
Yeah, I think we came into Topshop and how you guys kind of weren't sure about Topshop using cheap labour.
Yeah, it's not at the back of my mind because I didn't think it was there anyway, but it might be if I did think that they didn't.
So if you knew your shop did use cheap labour, would that change at all? Would that change your opinion, or do you think
It would
that?
change my opinion.
Same with you? Okay.
Yeah.
Would you yourself? Okay. Thank you very much.
What about the next few questions? Have you asked them all?
If that was what I could do.
Okay, would you yourself work for slave wages? You're looking at it from that point of view.
If that was all I could do, then I think we'd have to. I wouldn't choose to. Yeah.
So you don't condemn shops making people work for slave labour, right? Okay, so that's fair. Thank Okay. So do you know that H&M use cheap labour?
I have heard about it, but didn't know a lot about it.
So does it not bother you that H&M use cheap labour, or is that not in your mind when you go shopping?
It doesn't really occur to me, but I guess it would bother me, but
Now that you
a lot
know,
of places
would that
do.
change your way of shopping, or you just...
I don't think it would.
Why do you think that is? Do you have a reason, or is it just necessity?
It's because
shopping?
a lot of shops on the high street I've heard do use cheap labour, so
Yeah,
if
the
it's in my
majority do, yeah.
and it's in my the ones that don't are usually a lot more expensive, so it's in my price range.
So you wouldn't be willing to pay more for ethical fashion then, that was similar to what you usually buy, if it was fashionable?
If I had the money, which I don't.
Okay, so it's a money thing,
Yeah.
mostly. Would you yourself work for slave wages? Are you looking at it from that point of view?
If you have no choice, sometimes there's nothing you can do except if there's no other choice for you in your situation, sometimes you have to do what you have to do.
All right, okay. What would it take to change your mind about the way you shop, do you think? Or do you think it's not
If I
likely?
had more money, I would.
So it's just a money thing. If you had more money, you would go and shop at ethical shops.
Yeah.
More, okay. Okay, thank you very much. That's all we need. We'll be able to...
Okay, hi. What are your names? My name is Sophie.
And my name is Sarah.
Sarah, okay. I've seen that you've been shopping. Whereabouts have you been shopping today?
River Island and Big Book.
Do you realise that River Island uses cheap labour? Cheap labour. Do you know slave wages?
Yeah.
Slave labour. Do you know that they use that, or did you not know that? If now that you do, would that change the way you shop at all? The fact that they employ people and for cheap labour. I don't know how to say.
Yeah, like basically like the slaves, like it's slave labour, so people are getting paid very low wages for what you buy. So if you buy a top for £20, the person that made it probably got paid about 20p for it. So are you familiar with that, or is that something you've not heard of before?
I have heard of it before.
You've not heard of it?
Yo,
You have, okay. What do you think about it? Do you think it's okay, or
no, I think it's bad.
bad, yeah?
But River Island themselves do that. Do you think, now that you know that, does that affect the way you shop at all, or do you not care really? It doesn't affect it?
No.
So you
Not
would go in there again,
Yeah.
even though you knew that?
Yeah.
Okay,
That's nice to know.
but now that you know, it wouldn't change your mind at all?
A little bit.
If you were able to buy something that was ethically made, but it was a little bit more expensive, would you, or would you go for the cheaper still?
It depends on how it looks.
But if it was similar but just more expensive, but it was ethically made, so it wasn't used in slave labour at all, would you buy it, or would you still use the River Island?
I would buy it.
You'd buy it, so it's just a money kind of issue. Would you yourself work for slave wages?
No.
No, not at all. You?
No.
Okay. What would change your mind to be more ethical?
Can I get the question again?
What would you? What would convince you to sort of buy products that were made in an ethical way, like people that weren't paid cheap labour wages? What would would you consider like shopping in other places that don't use cheap labour?
Yeah.
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 Okay. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Would you be able to give your email address so